Hello, everybody. It is Thursday here in my part of the world. Probably yours, or could be Friday. So I don't know anyone who's going back in time yet. But anyway, how are you? May I just speak favor over all of you this day?
Now we must.
Let me turn myself down. It's like, wow, man, that's too. Well, good afternoon, one and all, or whatever the day or time is where you are. So good to see you. And getting all the buttons pushed. All right. So, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Again, I'll just speak favor over all of us. Nothing missing, nothing broken. And welcome. Appreciate that you're here. Your energy is much welcome. And, you know, when we all get together, we just have great times here. Let me say real quick, tonight on the Steiger Perspective over on the artistfirst.com, 10 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Mountain. You're going to like this one. This one's a political one. Yeah. And actually the theme is, you know, have we lost our minds? Yeah, I think what I have witnessed in the last 48 hours, the virus is here, man. I mean, and it ain't the coronavirus. No, it's a different kind of virus. And it's the kind that makes you cuckoo for Cocoa Pops. You know what I'm saying? You know? Yeah. So anyway, how are you? Hello, Julie Payne from Down Under. So good to see you. She is our resident alchemist and always love it. Robert, good to see you. David from Light of Darkness, good to see you. Thank you, David Barry, Susie Q, all the moderators. You know, it's very interesting that you write that from darkness. You know, isn't it odd how we miss things? It is. I am becoming more convinced that everything is in code. And so it told us right from the beginning, darkness is the natural state of things. In the beginning. It didn't say that there was light. It just said in the beginning, and then there was light. In the beginning, there was darkness. So darkness would be the natural state of being. Maybe that's how we get, if you pass over and you see the light, you should run your ass over to the darkness. I don't know. Whatever your perspective is. So anyway, tune in. It'll be fun. I do get political. You know, I told you in a past life, we live many lives in one life. And in a past life, you know, I was part of it was a very elite conservative group. I'm disqualified now because I do not hold Judeo-Christian beliefs. And that was one of the requirements. These, you know, so when I touch these subjects, I don't approach it from a fact of wondering, do they or do they not exist? They do. I know. And we're approaching this subject because we're all involved. They called us yesterday feed eaters, you know? I mean, what? But we approach this from the point of view of the occult. And I think that's where so many others that look at this fail to understand. And if you don't think that there's a spiritual component to this, yeah, we all know different, don't we, darling? We know what those are things. Hey, listen, real quick. I don't know what's going on with YouTube. I really don't. I know they're switching over on this platform. I don't know how many of you like it. I didn't think there was anything wrong with the old one. But any case, I went in because you know how it is when you subscribe to the other channels, and I didn't see them in my list. And So I don't know what the program is doing, but it seems to be an error in the program, and it is unsubscribing people unbeknownst. So please make sure you're a subscriber. Please hit the like button. I really wish they'd take that away, but the like button, that's a mind control thing. You know that? Yeah, it really is. We get sucked in. And anyway, so by all means, check that out. So I want y'all to take a peek at something. I know you can maybe not see this. Do you see that lightning ball there? Now, if you could zoom in on your screen, this device is, you can actually see there is a energy distortion field. Tells you something about these devices that, they're fun to experiment with. That's all I can tell you. They really are. But anyway, it generates a complete field right there. I mean, I can see it in my camera. What a fantastic distortion. Now, let me address David Barry's thing. Did y'all see David's post on what happened when he started watching yesterday's show, the second half? It leads him to Carol Ann's song, Poltergeist. They're here. You bet their ass they're here. They know that we're here. So why don't we all just say, hello, how are you? Good to see you. And, we can learn some stuff. So anyway, having said that, I'm just looking at some of the chat room as it goes by. Okay, got a lot to do tomorrow. Make sure to tune in. My special guest will be Michelle from South Africa. I'm just putting the warning out ahead of time, and I'll put a warning out tomorrow. The content is not for the squeamish. And it actually ties in with what we're studying here. So having said that, let's get class underway. We got a lot of material to cover, and these hours go by really quick. All right, so we stopped off with the Committee of 300. Now, the Committee of 300 is an interesting organization. And you have to take this as well. Every one of these organizations are a living entity. There is a spirit that is the hierarchy of each one of these groups, organizations, clubs, etc. That's the other thing everyone that has approached this subject fails to address. There is a spiritual hierarchy in each one of them, and then that hierarchy then ascends, as does the org chart, and we're going to see that. So let's get into it. The Committee of 300 is the ultimate secret society made up of an untouchable ruling class, which includes the Queen of the United Kingdom, Queen Elizabeth II, the Queen of the Netherlands, the Queen of Denmark, and the royal families of Europe. Now, this is a very interesting look at who is at the pinnacle of these families. You see, something I think that has been overlooked as well, they do acknowledge the feminine more so than any of the Abrahamic religions do. I think that this is a conduit of power that is not available to those mind beliefs that you'll see that they control. There's a reason why they established the patriarchal hierarchy. It's powerless. Oh yes, we're learning. All right, these aristocrats decided at the death of Queen Victoria, the matriarch of the Venetian Black Gulfs, that in the order to gain worldwide control, it would be necessary for the aristocratic members to go into business with the non-aristocratic but extremely powerful leaders of corporate business on a global scale. Yeah. I mean, you know what? If you've got control of the board, you basically, or not basically, you are, in fact, running everything. Its members are under the careful guidance and direction of the British Crown and subsequently its foreign policy executive arm. The Royal Institute of International Affairs, remember, RAW, that's what I call it, not now known as Chatham House. Most of the Committee of 300's immense wealth arose out of the opium trade with China and India. Obscene profits were sent straight to the royal coffers and into the pockets of the nobility, the oligarchs, and the plutocrats, and made them billionaires. This is from John Coleman in an article, The Venetian Black Nobility, Roots of Today's Ruling Oligarchy, 2012. So they get into these type of meetings, which you and I will never be a part of. There's no such thing as selling your soul, but there is certainly a known thing of binding your soul. And yeah, only 300 men, each of whom knows all the others, govern the fate of Europe. They select their successors from their own entourage. These men have the means in their hands of putting an end to the form of the state which they find unreasonable. Walter Rathnew, a member of the German hierarchy and foreign minister of the German Weimar Republic, in an article for the Wiener Press published on December 24, 1921, he subsequently was assassinated in 1921, and then they got him in 1922. The intent and purpose of the Committee of 300 is to bring to pass the following conditions: a one world government and one unit monetary system under permanent, non-elected, hereditary structure, who self-select from among their numbers to work towards a return to the feudal system of the Middle Ages in which the one world population will exist. In this one world entity, population will be limited by restrictions on the number of children allowed per family. Diseases, wars, and famines will take care of excess population until 1 billion people who are useful to the ruling class in areas which will be strictly and clearly defined will remain as the total population of the world. There will be no middle class, only rulers and servants. Again, from John Coleman's book, The Committee of 300, The Conspirators' Hierarchy, 2006. So let's take a moment and look at this. So this is basically the distribution chart of how the Committee 300, who they're tied with, who they rule, et cetera, et cetera. So you can see it originated from the British East India Company and the Dutch East India Company through China and India for opium. When they said obscene profits, they mean that. I mean, you're not paying anybody. You're paying the people to grow the poppy, nothing. Anyway, I digress. The Committee of 300 is a part of the UN in all of its activities. The United States National Reconnaissance Office, NRO, the most secret paradox intelligence agency. M16, England's intelligence group, that cuts off to the Anti-Defamation League. It then spins off to the Bilderbergs, then spins off to the Round Table, where the Committee of 300 holds, excuse me, a key position. You can see also the International Institute for Strategic Studies, the Trilateral Commission, we heard about them. Council on Foreign Relations, we know them. Then you get in over on the left, you get the Chatham House, and you can see they're connected to the Aspen Institute for Humanistic Studies. I wonder what they're studying. Canadian Institute for Internal Affairs, run by the Canadian Politics, Union for Concerned Scientists, Tavistock, that goes down to MIT, IPS, National Training Laboratories, Brookings Institute, Hudson Institute, Wharton School of Economics. Why there? I'll tell you why. You can harvest the most brilliant minds. And if you check on some of the world leaders, you will find in many of their CVs that, they're graduates, typically with a master's degree in business economics from Wharton. The Institute for Social Research, Princeton Institute for Advanced Studies, Social Psychiatry, Harvard Psychiatric Clinic, Stanford Research Institute. Then that goes down to the RAND Corporation, in which we also discussed the Club of Rome, which has direct ties to the Association of Human Psychology. In between the RAND, you have the CIA, and then you have NK Ultra. You have the University of Rochester and 85 other universities. Then that feeds down into the STAR Group, which then is actually connecting directly to Henry Kissinger, which the STAR Group entails insurance, banking, real estate, high-tech, cybernetics, HARP, communications, etc., and entertainment. I mean, you look at this, and yeah, complex, is it not? So I want us to pay attention to this. So we talked about the Black nobility. So if you look at this, you can see how this structure, I think, is pretty representative of the way it is. They don't seem to hide much. It's because the masses are blind. They're already programmed, hypnotized. All right, so you have the all-seeing eye at the top. We can only assume what that is. Then you have the world monarch. Then you have the Crown Council of 13, world's richest and most powerful families. Then you have the Committee of 300, the world's richest and most powerful subfamilies. So you'll never get into, again, as I said yesterday, the nobility. That's a bloodline thing. But, you know, if you've got enough money, we'll give you a title and we'll make you a part of one of our clubs. Then you've got the think tanks. And, you know, folks, listen to your news and you will find out these think tanks, they have a tremendous influence on policy. And you can see in the middle of these think tanks, you have the Trilateral Commission, Council for Foreign Relations, the United Nations, and then you have the Bilderberg Group, the Club of Rome, you know, and of course you've got, I believe that's the whoever, I think it may be the Vatican, but anyway, then you got the round table that controls them. Then you've got that controls the world financial markets. I mean, if you control the world's money and the finances, everybody wants to rule the world. Well, that's the way to do it. Now, the next layer is the world resource control. Now, under the world finance control, you have the central bank, you have tax revenue, and interest revenue. Every person of the world is paying a tax. in one form or another. And then you have the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the Bank of International Settlements. Weird. And then under the World Resources Control, you, of course, got oil, you got corporations, technology, pharmaceuticals. Literally, there is a helicopter going over. That's weird. All right. Now, look at the population and the workers. You have religion. They control the religion: Christian, Judaism, Islam, and Hindu. Then you have governments, the intelligence communities, military, police, the courts, the prisons. You can harvest energy with a human in any situation. And then you've got, of course, entertainment, media, mainstream media, television, and then you have the schools. And then you have the peons, the serfs. And this is really the way it is. I want to thank chan4chan.com for this. They did a great job on this, and it's accurate, very accurate. And from there, you can literally trace this all around the world. In this particular organization chart, you begin to see the what I would call the levels of hierarchy and how the power structure flows. And in this case, you can see it's the black nobility, the Illuminati, the royal families, the global elite. Then you have the Freemasons, the Illuminati, Knights of Malta, the Knights Society, Skull and Bones, Secret, yada, 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 yada. Now, from there, I love this one. You have the next line, starting at the far left, moving to right, mind manipulation. And underneath that, you have the Tavistock Institute, Stanford Institutes, Rand Corporation. Next, you have the elite military, secret science, underground bases, NASA, UFO technology, microchipping. Then next to that, you have the intelligence agencies, the British intelligence, CIA, Mossad, Interpol, etc. Then the next, you have the infiltration of left and right groups such as UFO groups, cults, etc. Then underneath there, you have terrorism and agents of provocateurs, the crap disturbers. You have then the misinformation, disinformation media outlets. Going on the third line down, then next to that, you have drugs, arms, and trades. They control all organized crime, are called drug cartels, mafia, etc. Then you cross over, and then you have the next major heading, which is religion. Again, the Vatican, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, New Age, etc. Then you got next to religion, banking, and business, banking systems, multinational oil cartels. Then next to that, you have politics. And there you have capitalism, fascism, communism, socialism. They don't care. It's all the same, at least to them. All right. And then you can just see how all this flows all the way down. Every one of these groups that we're studying. And the human race takes a position at the bottom. And enough of this sore throat going on. I'll just enjoy a mint. All right, so let's continue. The power behind the Committee of 300 is an Anglo-Jewish cousinhood that dominated the financial and political systems of the world. I'm sorry, folks. My throat is really dry, and it just... is relentless. This cousinhood includes the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Oppenheimers, Goldmans, Mocadas, the Montefiores, Sassoons, Warburgs, Samuel, Coderre, Franklin, Worm, Stern, and the Cohen families. There you go. The second level. These families hold monopolies over the worldwide banking system, the oil and gas industry, and the metals and mining industry. Through this domination of the financial markets, they pull the strings of every government in the world. They also control the illegal drug trade, human trafficking, and illegal arms trafficking worldwide, and that is in the pseudoreality.org. So, history. We just went through this whole Ukrainian thing. Now, the thing that they did, that they've tried, is to cover up the uranium deal. This is where it gets interesting. Because you know who's involved in that? Did anyone say Clinton? Yeah. That was the payoff. That was for her and Bill's payoff. That was kind of their retirement. And, well, they're protecting it. They're doing their best. The Committee of 300 is the product of the British East India Company, Council of 300. The East India Company was chartered by the British royal family in 1600. It made vast fortunes in the opium drug trade with China and became the largest company on earth in its time. Kind of like a Google, an Amazon. Today, through many powerful alliances, the Committee of 300 rules the world and is the driving force behind the criminal agenda to create a new world order under a totalitarian global government. These are bad, bad people. Now, I found this one, as you can see, begins to bring out even more how the tendrils are everywhere, folks. I guess the thing that really gets me is the whole religion thing. I mean, it's a powerful control mechanism. It is. And when you ingrain it into the chattel, the serfs, they'll be their own self-policing system. You don't want to go hell, do you? You don't want to piss off God, do you? That's the mentality. And, for a long time, it worked. Monarchies, kingdoms, they didn't need large armies. They didn't need large police forces. I mean, if you had an uprising, well, you come in, set up an inquisition, and, you use religion, God. And they'll extract a confession of you, or anyway, you're going to die one way or the other. I mean, that's powerful. That's how communism works. Socialism. The reason why these totalitarian systems work is because people are afraid. Rightfully so. People don't want to die. So they comply. It's the truth. So as we begin to look at this, you can see the other covert power centers, past, present, real, and imagined. Skull and Bones. I like that one. The Fuel Society. The Kabbalah. Now, what is the Kabbalah doing in there? The Knights Hospitaller Order of St. John of Jerusalem, of Rhodes, and of Malta. does this sound from the occult to mainstream? Knights Templar? Order of the Quest. The Bohemian Club. The Bohemian Club. We're going to talk about that one. Opus Dei. The Fabian Society. Freemasons. Tavistock Illuminati. World Anti-Communist League. I mean, some of these I have never even heard of. I want to read this to you because I thought that now this is actually from a Dutch banker, Ronald Bernard, in a TV interview, 2017, describing his experience within the banking of the Illuminati. Give me 1 second, folks. I think I know how I can. There we go. Okay. I guess I can't. All right. Anyway, let's go on with this. I was warned. Don't do this unless you can put your conscience 100% in the freezer. I heard myself laugh at it back then, but it wasn't a joke. Not at all. I was being trained to become a psychopath. We looked down on people, mocked them. Everything was worthless trash. Nature, the planet, everything could burn and break. As long as we met our goals, as long as we were growing. And I was in contact with those circles, the Illuminati. To me, they were just clients. I went to places called churches of Satan. I visited these places and they were doing their holy mass with naked women. It just amused me. I didn't believe in any of this stuff and was far from convinced that any of this was real. I was a guest in those Illuminati circles. It was the good life. But then, at some moment, I was invited to participate in sacrifices abroad. That was the breaking point. Children. I couldn't do that. And then I started to slowly break down. Everything changed, and I started to refuse assignments within my job. I could no longer do it, which made me a threat. Bet their ass that it was a threat. I was no longer capable of functioning optimally. My performance started to shake, and I refused task. I had not participated. In that world, they have everybody in their pocket. You need to be susceptible to blackmail, and blackmailing to me proved to be very hard. They wanted to do that through those children, and that broke me. If you search online, you will find that there are enough worldwide witnesses accounts that to prove this to be is not a Walt Disney fairy tale. Unfortunately, the truth is that they have been doing this for thousands of years. The reason the first 10 tribes of Israel were banished to Babylon was because of the rituals with children, including the sacrificing of children. All of this made me believe because I realized there is a whole invisible world. It is real. The Illuminati is a real entity, and that's the important, folks. It's an entity. I have found that what is written in the Bible, and not only the Bible, you can find it in so many other books, including Protocols for the Learned, Elders of Zion, in which a group went their own way and are carrying an intense hatred and anger. This is an annihilating force that hates our guts. It hates creation. It hates life. and it will do anything to destroy us completely. And the way to do that is to divide humanity. Divide and conquer is their truth. Again, this is from the Dutch banker Ronald Bernard in a TV interview, 2017. This is disturbing. I mean, again, I think so many of us have a limited perception of just how evil can be. So this is Moloch. Moloch has made a return. There's a worldwide show now with Moloch. Baal too, by the way. Those of you who've studied Moloch, you know what this god was about. This god was about the sacrificing of children. You can do the research and the study, but you will find it was barbaric. But humans not only built these altars, but humans participated in the sacrifices. The Old Testament is replete with the stories of the children of Israel, the Israelites. They were tribes by then. And instead of worshiping Jehovah, the Elohim, they chose to worship Moloch. Some say Baal. I don't know. But I know this. There's something powerful about this. It's dark. But there's enormous power given to those who participate in these butcheries. And again, you have to be of a certain, obviously, point of that mind to participate. But it's still here today. This is the Bohemian Grove in California, outside Marin County. This is Moloch the Owl. They do make mock sacrifices once a year. It is not just play. This is serious. This god has been here for quite some time. This god is worshipped by leaders from all over the world. Goes back quite a while. Now, you have to ask yourself, why would reasonable people do such unreasonable things? Well, there's obviously an exchange going on. It is said that before a person could be chosen president, which we know that is just an motion, that they will be initiated. Now, I don't know if the current president is. I'm not sure of the last one. But we know of the former ones. This god goes back to the earliest roots of our remembrance. This god was here before all the other gods. That includes the God of the Bible, the God of the Quran, and the God of the Vedic. It's a powerful deity. And you cannot, and I would suggest you don't, underestimate the influence of this alien. That's what it is. It's an alien. It's not of a human spirit, but the spirit of this thing, well, I've just shown you what exactly it does. We continue. The Tavistock Institute is directed by British intelligence. The Tavistock Institute organized and trained the entire staffs of the official Office of Strategic Services, the OSS, which is now the CIA, the Strategic Bombing Survey, the supreme headquarters of the Allied Expeditionary Forces, and other key American military groups during World War II. During World War II, the Tavistock Institute combined with Medical Science Division of the Rockefeller Foundation for experiments with mind-altering drugs. The drug culture of the United States is traced to its entirety to this institute, which supervised the Central Intelligence Agency training programs. The LSD counterculture originated when Sandoz AG, a Swiss pharmaceutical house owned by S.G. Warburg and Company, developed a new drug for lysergic acid called LSD. James Paul Warburg, son of Paul Warburg, who had written the Federal Reserve Act in 1910, and people out there were questioning me on me. Don't do that. Never underestimate me. Excuse me. Financed a subsidiary of the Tavistock Institute in the United States called the Institute for Policy Studies. The British Tavistock Institute has directed the programs of such American think tanks as the Herbert Hoover Institute at Stanford University, Heritage Foundation, Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania, Hudson Institute, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and the Rand Corporation. This is from Euston Mellons in his book, The Secret of the Federal Reserve, the Appendix, 1983. So you look at the publicly observable power centers now, and you can now begin to see what I am calling this unseen power, the ones that the bloodlines are forever bound to. They must worship it. They have to. They have no other choice. And so now you can begin to see how religion begins to top this. The Vatican, the Bank of International Settlements, we've looked at this, the United Nations, NATO, the WTO, World Bank, the IMF, the CDC, the World Health Organizations, the Ford Foundation, Open Society Foundation, Brookings Institute, Carnegie Endowment for the International Peace, RAND, et cetera, et cetera. Now, when you look again, how this global oligarchy has been set up, you see the crown, you can see how it begins to flow down. I mean, you know, folks, we could be at 0 point free energy. Never happen. Now, as long as this structure's here, they can't make a profit off it. And you start giving free energy, every nation in the world would begin to prosper. The most impoverished, poorest countries would begin to arise out of the poverty and the despair. Why? Because it's free energy. And you look again at the European dynastic families, House of Windsor, Netherlands, Belgium, Liechtenstein, next Luxembourg, Spain, the international banks, and the Vatican. And as you begin to work down, again, you see that they're everywhere. There was rapid consolidation after the 2008 financial crisis. Remember, too big to fail? We, the American people, bailed them out. We paid them. What did they do? Screwed us. Barack Obama was an internationalist. He desperately wants to be part of the nobility. He was well on his way. If the Trump administration hadn't canceled TTPC, International Trans-Pacific Agreement, we'd be in a world hurt today, folks. That agreement took away American citizens' rights to go to court. In fact, it bypassed the Constitution, Bill of Rights. Americans would have been subjected to tribunals, foreign tribunals. So, if you're a Trump hater, you can at least thank him for that. You look into these transnational corporations, they're extensive. I look at this: Barclays, Capital Group, United States Fidelity Management, United States AXA, JP Morgan Chase, the Legal and General Group. I mean, I look at these, Merrill Lynch and the rest. And then you look at the weapons manufacturers. They own them. Lockheed, Boeing, BAE Systems in Britain, General Dynamics, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, Eds, Britain, L3 Communications. I mean, they own the energy companies. Hard to get away from this one. Again, look at this. And because you and I don't buy stock on a major level, this is how they get in there. If you're a publicly traded company, you want your stock to go up. Why? Because everybody's going to get rich. And even in moments of downturn, you have the ace in your hand. Donald Trump's book, The Art of the Deal, showed how even bankruptcy can be made profitable. And that's what we saw in 2009. Bankruptcy became very profitable, to the tune, the last I heard, over $3 trillion from the American taxpayer. $3 million. Trillion, excuse me. And when you get to look at asset management companies, now these are the companies that play a vital role in providing working capital. They provide you a level of liquidity that you need in any business. Companies like Amazon, Facebook's, they have yet to turn a profit. Probably never will. They don't want to turn a profit. If you knew the story of how Square started, Jack Dorsey from Twitter, you'd be surprised. Anyway, you think that this sounds boring, but it's not. It's vitally important that it be in your memory bank. Josiah Stamp, director of the Bank of England, 1928, was quoted by saying, "The bankers own the earth. Take it away from them, but leave them the power to create money, and with the flick of a pen, they will create enough deposits to buy it back again. However, take the power to create money away from them, and all the great fortunes like mine will disappear. But if you wish to remain the slaves of bankers and pay the cost of your own slavery, let them continue to create money." The four horsemen of banking: Bank America, JP Morgan Chase, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo own the four horsemen of oil: ExxonMobil, Royal Dutch Shell, BP Amoco, and Chevron Texaco. In tandem with Deutsche Bank, BNP, Barclays, and other European old money behemoths, the four horsemen of banking are among the top 10 stockholders of virtually every Fortune 500 corporation. 80% ownership of the New York Federal Reserve Bank, by far the most powerful Fed branch, is held by just 8 families. The Goldman Sachs, Rockefellers, Lehmans, and Conlobes of New York, the Rothschilds of Paris and London, the Warburgs of Hamburg, and the Lazars of Paris, and the Israel Moses chiefs of Rome. J.W. McAllister, an oil industry insider of the House of Saud Connections, wrote in The Grim Reaper that he acquired this information from Saudi bankers. 10 banks control all 12 Federal Reserve Bank branches. Rothschilds of London, Rothschilds Bank of Berlin, Warburg, Lehman Brothers, Lazard Brothers in Paris, Conlob Bank of New York, and the Israel Moses Chef Bank of Italy, Goldman Sachs of New York, and J.P. Morgan Bank, of New York. William Rockefeller, Paul Warburg, Jacob Schiff, and James Stillman are the individuals who own large shares of the Fed. The Schiffs are insiders of the Conlob. The Stillmans are Citigroup insiders who married into the Rockefeller clan at the turn of the century. You see, we learned to emulate the royals. The Bank of International Settlements is the most powerful bank in the world, a global central bank for the 8 families who control the private central banks of almost all Western and developing nations. This is from the book, The Federal Reserve Cartel, The 8 Families by Dean Henderson. Gary Allen, in his book, None Dare to Call It a Conspiracy, wrote, if you want to control the nation's manufacturing, commerce, finance, transportation, and natural resources, you would need only to control the apex, the power pinnacle of an all-powerful socialist government. Then you would have a monopoly and could squeeze out all your competitors. If you wanted a national monopoly, you must control a national socialist government. If you want a worldwide monopoly, you must control a world socialist government. That is the game. That's what the game is all about. Communism is not a movement of the downtrodden masses, but is a movement created, manipulated, and used by power-seeking billionaires in order to gain control over the world. First, by establishing socialist governments, hello, Elizabeth Warren, in the various nations, and then consolidating them all through a great merger into an all-powerful world socialist superpower. This is exactly what John Kerry talked about. This is what Hillary Clinton talked about. Trump, who is more of a nationalist, will never be a part of this, or so it's said. The real menace of our republic, and that's what we are, is the invisible government, which, like a giant octopus, sprawls its slimy length over our city, state, and nation. At the head is a small group of banking houses, generally referred to as the international bankers. This little coterie of powerful international bankers virtually run our government for their own selfish ends. Instrumental in control of economics by the rich has been a debt-based monetary system, where credit is treated as the monopoly of private financial interest, who in turn control governments, intelligence services, and military establishments. Politicians are bought and sold, elected and removed, or even assassinated for this purpose. The global monetary system is tightly controlled and coordinated at the top by the leaders of the central banks who work for the world's richest people. Andrew Gavin Marshall, Global Research. You see, folks, if you're a citizen of the United States, you're in debt. Did you know you're already hitting almost $200,000 per citizen, and the number's going up? You know, the debtor is slave to the lender. World War I created an astronomical debts in the nations that participated. These debts were held by the international bankers who organized and stage managed the whole show from start to finish. In the fall of 1929, it was time for the international bankers to push the button that set in motion the machinery that resulted in World War II. After their agents and friends had sold out at the crest of an artificially inflated stock market boom, the international bankers pulled the rug out from under the whole system and sent the United States plunging into what became known as the Great Depression. Des Griffin's book, Descent into Slavery. The House of Rothschild made its money in the great crashes of history and the great wars of history, the very periods when others lost their money. This is E.C. Knuth in his book, The Empire of the City, A Secret History of British Financial Power. German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck wrote, "The division of the United States into federations of equal force, the North and the South, was decided long before the Civil War. The bankers were afraid that the United States would upset their financial domination over the world. The voice of the Rothschilds prevailed." Yeah, our Civil War, that was the bloodiest one of our history, was all contrived. It was all about profit. Someone had to buy the guns. Someone had to buy the bullets. John D. Rockefeller was a Machiavellian who boasted that he hated competition. Whenever he could, Rockefeller used the government to promote his own interests and to hinder his competitors. Monopoly capitalism is impossible unless you have a government with the power to strangle would-be competitors. The easiest way to control or eliminate competitors is not to best them in the marketplace, but use the power of government to exclude them from the marketplace. If you wish to control commerce, banking, transportation, and natural resources on a national level, you must control the federal government. If you and your clique wish to establish worldwide monopolies, you must control the world government. Gary Allen in his book, Rockefeller File. And we'll end it with this one. This is F. Engeldahl in his book, Seeds of Destruction. Powerful private families decided to who controls the Federal Reserve, the Bank of England, the Bank of Japan, and even the European Central Bank. Money is in their hands to destroy or to create. Their aim is to ultimate control over future life on the planet, a supremacy earlier dictators and despots only ever dreamt of. Wow. Yeah. And we'll pick up because on Monday, we begin to get into the modern day players. I mean, folks, you know, when you look at this, and this is none of my, I mean, I'm giving you all the sources where this is coming from. And you can see it dates back in some cases hundreds of years. And these people are not good people. They're very, very bad people. Bad people, bad people. I don't even know if they're human. How can you think like this? I mean, did they give up and something inside die and something move in? I think it had to have happened. You can't be of a rational mind and say that this is in any way makes sense. And folks, I'm going to tell you something. Since the occult is at the center of all this, without the occult, without these aliens that have been here a while, I mean, they do not have mankind's best interest. Quite obviously, they don't like us. They don't like our cup of tea, and they don't like the way that we dress, you know, the way we wear our hair. You know, it's just like, wow. But in any case, it's amazing. Well, thank all of you. Well, thank you, Twisted Isby. we're just reading it, and we still got a long ways to go. I told you when we started this that by the end of it, you will be probably the most well-versed individual that could speak on a rational, reasonable level of the complexity of the system that we are under. And no matter which country you're in, they all got us apparently. So, yeah. Listen, so I want to share something with you very quickly. The whole Somerset Belanoff story is a code. It's not about an individual. Doesn't matter whether this individual is alive or not. It's a code. They told you that. Everyone missed this. Everybody missed this. I broke the first part of the code. And it's not good. Not good at all. So I'll save that till Monday. But someone says, yes, the flight of Ichthys. How did you know that? Very well. Very well. Thank you. Is that what everybody was wanting? So you pulling down, heaven. Yeah. So great shirt, by the way. I just, it really does that. So yeah, it falls in line with what we're talking about here in our classes. It does. And I was shocked when it was right there in front of us. It's just that we don't think in code, not the way that they do. But I'm telling you, I'll give you on Monday what the first part of the code is. And well, in fact, I'll break it tonight on the Steiger Perspective. So tune in tonight over at artistfirst.com and at 10 p.m. Eastern, wherever you are, just, do the math. And I'll let you in on it. I'll tell you what this is about. It's not good. It's not good at all. No. And I didn't get it. They told us this. They told this, it's about code. All right, folks. Let's see what everyone else is saying. Y'all are just the greatest. Thank you. Thank you for keeping the conversation uplift and upbeating. Listen, we got a lot to deal with, but I'm telling you, when I get along with all of you, we can conquer the world. We just have to know who our enemy is. And I don't think that, as bad as these people are, that they are our enemy directly. I think there is something above this. And it's really a chameleon. It likes to hide itself. And quite frankly, I have no desire to join any club, any secret society. Most of them I wouldn't qualify for. Why? Because I don't believe in any of these gods. I got no faith. It means nothing to me. Other than if your God commands you to murder, well, guess what? Your God's a murderer. And I think that's uncool. Mankind was not meant to be murdered or to be fed upon. We were meant to grow. We were meant to take our place in the cosmos. We are gods as we are. And when we combine ourselves, we're a powerful, powerful creation. And this is what I think this thing is trying to suppress. Rock and roll, isn't it? Far out, baby. All right. Thank y'all for tuning in. I shall see y'all tomorrow and tonight if you tune in. I appreciate it. Thank you all. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.